What's up, everybody, and welcome to Space Arena Ground Arena, where we cover Star Wars Unlimited from the ground into space. I'm BananaCrapshoot. I'm here with the first straight YouTube video, I'm pretty sure. I think everything else has been a podcast also. And this is going to be our first deck build video. I've done an article before on a Boba Fett deck on our website, but this is going to be first deck overview video with one of my favorite decks. So this is Sabine. I'm calling it No Sleep Till Brooklyn. So the Sabine leader on the undeployed side deals 1 damage to each base as an action, and then deploys on 4 bases or on 4 resources, which is key. That early deploy is a big issue if your opponent can handle it. And then the deployed side on attack, deal 1 damage to each enemy base. You're not hitting yourself also. So Sabine is a 2/5, not very strong, but she comes out so early. That's really a 3 damage swing. Yeah. But very fast, very aggressive. Puts your opponent on a clock, on a timer. I'm playing this with yellow. We're playing this with Jeddah City. So Jeddah City has an epic action to give a non-leader unit -4 attack power for the phase. It's kind of like soft removal. You can basically turn a unit off for a turn. You can see this is version 12 of the deck, something I'm continually updating and tinkering with. But it's been a lot of fun in proxy games, in force table games, and TTS games. So there were some cards that were revealed today that did change some things, and I did get a couple proxy games in. And I'm very happy with where the deck is at currently. I don't know how much more support this is going to get, but so far it's pretty bonkers. It's faster than everything else so far. But yeah, we'll go through the units and we'll talk about what you're looking for, like in your opening hand, some stuff like that. So we have Benthic 2 Tubes, who is a 1-cost aggression unit that says on attack, another friendly aggression unit gains raid 2 for this phase. So 1-drop, 2/2, it's fine. And then the on attack ability is strong, so you definitely want to see this in your opening hand to set up that on attack for other units later on. You want to get him out pretty early. Then next, we're running 3 copies of that. Next up, we have the Spec Force Soldier. It's another 1-drop. This is a 2/2. And when played, a unit loses Sentinel for this phase. The Sentinel can be relevant if you're playing like blue. And any villainy deck can be running this cell block guard, so it's something to worry about. But so far, mainly it's blue. That is the issue for Sentinel. But really, you're playing this as another 1-drop, and it's red, which is relevant, and it is heroic, which is now also relevant. So this is another way to trigger some synergies, to deal some direct damage to the enemy's base. Next up, we have the Lothal Insurgent, which is a 2-cost Cunning Heroism unit, 3 power, 2 health, just rebel trait. When played, if you played another card this phase, each opponent draws 1 and then discards 1. The draw and discard hasn't been so relevant unless the opponent's hand is empty, but most of the times you want to play this early in the game. The heroic symbol on this card is really what makes it pretty relevant in this deck. But yeah, we will see more about that. Except Rebel Pathfinder. So far, all these cards are running 3 ofs. The Rebel Pathfinder is a 2-drop heroic, 2 attack power, 3 health with Saboteur. This card wasn't in here in the last iteration, and I just added it back in today, really, because of the heroic symbol on it. And it still has Saboteur, but the heroic symbol on this card is why it got added back in. 3 of the Sabine unit, Explosive Artist. While there's at least 3 aspects among other friendly units, she's kind of hidden. You can't target her for attacks. And then on attack, you can deal damage to the base or the defender. Most of the time, you're going to be going base with this, but the on attack to deal damage to the defender has been relevant to end a unit that would have otherwise knocked Sabine out. So that can be relevant, but most of the time you're going to be going base. Fighters for Freedom. This is one of our key cards we're looking for. It's aggression, heroism, 3 power, 4 health, rebel trooper, saboteur. When you play another red card, you may deal 1 damage to a base. So this is free damage to the base every time you play a red card. So I wanted to stack as much red cards as I can in here so that we can get this ability off very consistently. Like I said, Sabine already puts your opponent on a clock with her action and her ability to deal damage to the base on attack. So this accelerates that clock. This is a very key card in this deck. Next up, we have 3 copies of Fleet Lieutenant. There's Heroic, 3 cost, 3 power, 3 health. When played, you may attack with a unit. If it's a rebel, gets plus 2 power. Basically, all of our units are rebels, so this will hit anything we want. It's heroic, so we can get an added benefit. It is a rebel, which we don't really have the rebel synergy in here that we have. It's in our sideboard, but getting the plus 2 whenever we want is nice off this card. It's kind of like a surprise attack on a stick. Kind of, it's not as good as surprise attack, but that plus 2 buff on an attack once or twice a game is pretty good. Next up, we have K2SO, which is another newer card. 4 cost is the top of our curve. Used to have like black 1 as a 6 drop, and we don't need it. This deck is fast enough. We can go wide. We can deal a lot of damage. We don't need to go past 4 on our curve. We would need a really good reason to, and right now I don't think we have one. So K2SO is a 4 power, 4 health, aggression, heroism unit, rebel droid with overwhelm. So getting that overwhelm damage can be very nice. And when defeated, for each opponent, choose 1, either deal 3 damage to that player's place or that player discards a card from their hand. Most of the time, especially in this deck where we're trying to end the game quickly, the when defeated effect is what we're looking for to deal more direct damage to the base that they can't interact with or prevent. That's our ground units. So we have 24 ground units, 3 of each one, between 1, 2, 3, and 4 drops. Pretty solid. We have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 playable ground units in our deck for our opening hand. So we have really good odds of seeing something to play round 1. Space units now, we have 11 of them, starting off with 2. This is our only 2 of in the deck, the Alliance X-Wing. This is another card that I didn't have in, and I had the Headhunter in, the Outer Rim Headhunter, because so that card in Sabine I think is good, even though it's only a 1 with a raid 1. Since Sabine deploys earlier than everyone else, the when on attack ability to exhaust a unit is a lot more relevant in Sabine, and you can get it off pretty consistently. But with one of the events that was revealed that we're going to talk about in a second, you want heroism cards. So the Alliance X-Wing is a slightly better body than the Headhunter, but we can get a little more synergy out of this because we can also trigger it off of a Fleet Lieutenant if we need to. So this is back in as of today. Next up, we have the Green Squadron A-Wing, which might be the best card in the deck, honestly. It's up there. 2 costs, heroism, aggression. It's a 1 attack, 3 health rebel vehicle fighter with raid 2. So this is 3 power when it attacks on a 2 drop. It's very weak defending, but I mean your opponent has to deal with this, and it's a 2 drop. Most of the time you're going to be winning the value trade on that. But this thing is very good early. You can like a round 1 A-Wing into a round 2 Fleet Lieutenant for a 5 damage attack with an A-Wing in the space arena is very strong. It's very consistent, very cheap, very good. This is an all-around great deck, and it has the synergy we're taking advantage of with it both being a red card, so you get the Fighter for Freedom triggered for damage for base, and we get if it's revealed off that event, we're also dealing damage to the base. Next up, we have the Millennium Falcon, piece of junk, 3 drop, Cunning Heroism, 3 power, 4 health. This unit enters play ready and then during the regroup phase, you have to pay a tax of 1 to keep it in play. The 3 power for 3 that comes in ready is very strong. If you can pay the tax, pay it. If not, if your turn doesn't work without it, you can bounce it to hand. But most of the time, you're probably going to want to pay the tax. Most of the time, I'm going to 5 resources and paying 1 for this, and you can have usually another 2 cards to play. There's so many 2 drops in here. But yeah, the Falcon's really good. The only thing I wish it had on it was the Rebel trait. If it had the Rebel trait, it would be amazing. Because you can't hit it with a Fleet Lieutenant, or like the sideboard, we have Medal of Ceremony, you can't hit it. But it comes in ready, you can attack with it, and it has Heroism. Next up, we have Red 3, which is also another awesome card that was just revealed recently, but has been doing tons of work. So this is a 3-cost aggression heroism unit in space that is a 2 power 3 health, which doesn't seem crazy, right? The Green Squadron A or the Alliance X-Wing is a 2/3 for 2. But this has raid 1, so it's a 3/3 on attack, and it gives each other friendly heroism unit raid 1, which is really relevant, right? So the Falcon, the Green Squadron A-Wing, the X-Wing, Cassian's counterpart K2SO, the Fleet Lieutenant, the Fighters for Freedom, Sabine, the Unit N Leader, the Rebel Pathfinder, the Lothal Insurgent, and the Spec Force Soldier all get the buff. Everything gets a buff off of Red 3 except for Benthic 2 Tubes. But he on attack gives another aggression unit raid 2. So with Red 3, for example, and I've done this like 4 or 5 times already, you could have an A-Wing out with Red 3 and Benthic, right? So Benthic attacks, he gives your A-Wing raid 2, so he's up to raid 4, and then Red 3 gives him another raid 1. So this is a raid 5 A-Wing because the keywords with integers stack. So you get your A-Wing to a raid 5, and it's dealing 6 damage for a 2-drop. The synergies between Red 3, the rest of the deck, and like stuff like Benthic 2 Tubes and Fighters for Freedom is just ridiculous, and it just makes this thing hum really fast. So 11 space units. It's pretty solid setup so far. Very cheap, like I said, and it pumps out damage really quickly. Next up, events. 3 for a Cause I Believe in, which is the new one that was just revealed today, and I've already got 4 or 5 games with it. It's a 3-cost aggression heroism, right? So it's aggression, so you get damage off Fighters for Freedom. And it says reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. For each heroism card revealed this way, deal 1 damage to an enemy base. Excuse me. So we have almost all of our space units. The only unit that does not heroism in our deck is Benthic 2 Tubes. So we have 11, so it's 3, 6, 9. We have 11 plus 21, 32 units that are heroism. Plus 3 plus 6 events. So roughly 40 cards out of our 50 roughly are have the heroism symbol. So for a Cause I Believe in, most of the time is going to do 4 damage, sometimes 3. And that's direct damage to the base that the enemy can't interact with unless they have Relentless out as a 9-drop, and most of the time that's not going to do anything for them because the game's going to be over before then. So for a Cause I Believe in really pushes this deck into like a ridiculous tier. And the synergies with this and the rest of the deck, the way we have it built, it's pretty ridiculous. Next up is another new event, 2-cost aggression tactic, keep fighting. Ready a unit with 3 power or less. Everything has 3 power or less except for K2SO. Everything else is 3 power or less, so we can ready anything we have in our deck. Another thing to note, with the amount of raid we have going on here, that does not count as your power, because the raid is a keyword that triggers on attack. It gets that while attacking, right? So you can ready everything. It doesn't matter if something has raid 17. If it's only 1 power, like the Alliance X-Wing or the Green Squadron A-Wing, it doesn't matter if this thing has raid 17. You can ready this with keep fighting, because it has 1 power. It only gains that when attacking. So Keep Fighting is very strong because it hits all of our units except K2SO. Next up, 3 copies of Spark of Rebellion. 2 cost, Cunning, Heroism. Look at an opponent's hand, discard a card from it. This round 1, I'm like, this is, you can use to pull removal. This is usually a card I'm looking to play in going, if the game goes in the mid game, use this to pull your opponent's stuff, use this to protect your units and get rid of their removal. But really, it having Heroism for the For a Cause and Believe in play makes it worth having in here. 3 copies of Surprise Strike for the +3 attack power. Like I said earlier when I talked about the Green Squadron A-Ring, Red 3, and Benthic play, if you can hit a Surprise Strike on your A, like, you can, there's ridiculous burst potential very early in the game with these cards. So, and then 3 copies of Open Fire, Aggression. Everybody knows that does deal 4 damage to a unit. This one I'm not as high on at the moment, but it is our only like direct removal option to deal 4 damage to a unit. So I think having some sort of access to some sort of direct removal is worth having. So yeah, so that's in there. I took out Leia. Leia was in the deck. I took the Leia out. Might go back in favor of the Lothal Insurgent. We'll see. I want to get a few more games in, but Leia has been pretty good. The exhaust, so we're gonna play a little more and see how much I miss the exhaust. And either the Pathfinder or the Insurgent might end up being Leia again. So on our sideboard, 3 copies of Metal Ceremony. We do have a lot of Rebels. So far, I haven't felt that the experience tokens were especially needed. I think Metal Ceremony is perfect in like Leia, who really benefits off Rebels. But most of our deck is Rebels. I think maybe all of it. Is there anything that's not a Rebel in here, actually? Our whole deck is Rebels, I think, except the Falcon. Falcon's the only thing that's not a Rebel. So Metal Ceremony I have in the sideboard, mainly if I'm looking to play against some mid-range decks where I want to try to buff my units and use my units as board control instead of going around them. Metal Ceremony can go in. But really, this deck goes so fast. I haven't felt the need to try to buff my units because they're with the raid in here. I felt like I haven't needed the experience tokens. But if you're looking to get into a mid-range, slower deck with lots of shields that's going to slow you down, Metal Ceremony can help you hang around for sure. 2 copies of Precision Fire in the sideboard also. It's an aggression card. Give a unit Saboteur. If it's a trooper, it gets +2 power. So we have the Rebel Pathfinder. We have the Spec Force Soldier. We have Benthic 2 tubes. We have the Fighters for Freedom. We have the Fleet Lieutenant that can all be hit by that. So that's in there if we need access to get around shields or sentinels. Precision Fire is where we can slot in. Disabling Fang Fighter, also in the sideboard, 3 cost. This is in here if I'm playing a best of 3 against Luke or even like Boba Fett. Like, I'll probably put this in here because a lot of the Boba Fett decks are running, if it's red Boba Fett, they're running the Fallen Lightsaber package, and that's pretty devastating. Also, if you're playing in the mirror and you're playing against somebody that's using a bunch of Metal Ceremonies, Disabling Fang Finder will let you delete an experience token on something. It'll let you delete shield tokens, so it's a good tech card against token heavy or upgrade heavy decks. 1 copy of Outmaneuver. I just think this is a pretty solid sideboard card to save you if you need it against someone that's going all in on one arena. And then 2 copies of Waylay. I like this card less and less as we go, just because, yeah, it's great to remove like some upgrades on something, but that they can play that unit again next round. So you're going to a lot of times end up on the negative end of that exchange. So I think Waylay, if we get another event or 2, is probably going to disappear. But yeah, so that's my version of Sabine Cunning right now. No Sleep Till Brooklyn's what I'm calling it. So you guys can see the deck here, but I'll put the deck image up I'll open that up so you can just get a look at it kind of laid out on the table. Yeah, like I said, the synergies between the aggression and heroism stuff with For a Cause I Believe in, um, Fighters for Freedom, and Red 3 giving Raid 1 and basically everything, you can really hit hard and fast. Opening hands, right? We have a lot of 1 and 2 drops, so we should not have a problem hitting something in our opening hand. I love seeing the Sabine unit. I love seeing Green Squadron A-Wing early. Benthic is really good early. I'm looking for any of those. I'm also looking for Fighters for Freedom and Red 3. So basically, if I could have Sabine, Green Squadron A-Wing, Benthic, Fighters for Freedom, and Red 3, like, I want some combination of 2 and 3 of those in my opening hand if I can, because that is the key cogs that get this thing going. And then you get For a Cause I Believe in, and then you get Keep Fighting and Open Fire, and like all these red cards that you're going to deal direct damage when you play them. And then For a Cause and Believe in is dealing direct damage based off of heroic symbols that you're revealing, which almost everything has except for like Surprise Strike and Open Fire and Keep Fighting. Everything else basically has the heroism symbol on it. And Benthic also doesn't. And then K2SO, you can also deal 3 direct damage when he's defeated. So you can swing him into big stuff, defeat him, 3 damage. This, between Sabine's ability on her front side, her deployed ability to attack and deal damage, the Sabine unit attacking and deal damage, the raid and the direct damage off For a Cause I'm Believin', and Fighters for Freedom triggers, like this you can very overwhelm your opponent very easily. This deck has been a lot of fun, so go try it out and have fun with it. And till the next time, we will see you in the arenas.